All right, now to the freshmen coming into Washington and a sign that elections actually do mean something. Just a short time ago, Senator Minority Leader Mitch McConnell announced he will support the ban on earmarks, championed by Senator Jim DeMint, the Tea Party, and most new Republican lawmakers. Got to give him credit. I'm surprised by that news. All right, now, meanwhile, the old Congress still has to tackle some really important issues in their lame duck session. First, they have until the end of this month to vote on extending jobless benefits for over 2 million unemployed Americans. Then it's on to the budget and whether or not to keep the federal government open for business. That deadline is December 2nd. But the biggest issue of all is whether they will extend the Bush tax cuts, and to whom. Congress has until New Year's Eve to figure that one out. For the moment being, the Democrats are still in charge, but will they act like it? CNBC's John Harwood joins me live from Washington. John, I want to ask you first about the White House reaction. It looks like they have already said that they are going to do a compromise of at least 1 or 2 years in extending the tax cuts for the rich. Was that the only option on the table at the White House? Or, do your sources say, did they even consider other options? Did they consider fighting at all?
Well, Cenk, I think their approach was to try to fight during the campaign season. It didn't go very well. They weren't able to unite Democrats behind a strategy and really put the Republicans on the defensive. They tried to make the argument that we can permanently extend the cuts for everybody under 250 and get rid of the ones in the name of deficit reduction for the top earners. And they couldn't get that moved in the Senate. The House probably could have passed it had the Senate been able to move it. But that's not the way it worked out. And I think post-election, the president's trying to make sure, above all, that something gets done by the end of the year, because, as you just mentioned, that New Year's Eve deadline is the dividing line between when taxes would go up on everyone if Congress doesn't act. So I think they are headed for a temporary extension, and the White House has decided that's the best result they can get at this point.
John, there's a weird disconnect there, though, because almost every poll says that on how to balance the budget, number one comes in at tax the wealthy more. So, can they really read this election as a mandate to make sure the rich don't get taxed, or could it have been about something else?
Look, we can argue for a long time about exactly what the mandate of the voters are, but one thing that the White House can do and Democratic leaders can do is count votes within the Senate. They need 60 in order to get the official Democratic position. They don't have 60 votes. They've got 59 Democrats, or people who caucus with the Democrats, and they've just had an election where they've all the Democrats who were up in 2012 are skittish about what their political standing is going to be. So it's a difficult sell. When they had 60 votes in the Senate and when they had a sense of momentum and a popular president behind them, that was a different story. Now they're playing with a weaker hand.
Defending their own positions might help, but that's my opinion. Now, I want to ask you one last question, John. The Republicans, you really got to give them credit here. I'm surprised that Mitch McConnell lost this battle, basically, and has conceded to Jim DeMint. It looks like this is the more principled position. The Tea Party seems to have won this one, right?
Absolutely. This is a case of a Republican leader, Mitch McConnell, who shares the view that's privately held by many people on Capitol Hill, which is that earmarks are a trivial contribution to our budget problem. Nevertheless, it's very popular with the Tea Party. It's very popular among some Democratic reformers. President Obama, the other day at his press conference, said he wanted to work with Republicans on that. And Mitch McConnell was not going to be the one to stand in the way of something that the Tea Party and Barack Obama and House Republicans all wanted to try to implement. And you do have a clear demonstration, as you just suggested, of quick accountability from Republican leaders changing their position to make that happen.
Hey, that's a good thing. I love it when they stick to principle. So score one for DeMint. CNBC's John Harwood, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.